Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it's time to look at some new authentic decals which are going to be available for the next 2 weeks. Now remember, the way that you basically get these decals is by doing certain challenges in the game, and also it's a good way to obfuscate the grind of the game. Instead of trying to focus on getting one of those top tier vehicles, instead you can focus on the smaller challenge, which is getting one of these weekly decals. Now, to be able to participate, you have different challenges for each decal, and generally they range from rank 2 to rank 2 vehicles and above. So as long as you have rank 2 vehicles in the specific nation that it talks about, and above in the specific tech tree, you can yourself get these decals. And since they last for like 2 weeks, I think that gives you enough time to be able to grind through a rank 1 of a nation in order to participate in getting these decals as well. On top of this, at this moment in time, we have a Battlefield Engineer event going on, which is very much a grind fest, or at least it seems to be from my point of view. So with these decals, one of the things that I want to stress is instead of focusing on the event and all of the toolkits and all of the drops, why not focus on something which you know you will get the reward at the end of it, which will be these decals. So let's have a look at them. The first one is the emblem of the 132nd Armor Division of the Ariete, Italy, and you have to destroy 60, or 30 for RB and SB, enemy vehicles while driving Italian ground vehicles, or purchase it for 200 GE. Then you've got the emblem of the 3rd Anti-Aircraft Platoon of the JASDF, 200 GE, and then you've got the emblem of the 7th Armored Brigade of the Israel Defense Forces. Play 7 battles and be the first on your team while playing ground vehicles, so that's probably to celebrate the Macabre coming to the game. And then, of course, you have the insignia of the 3rd S-Boot Flotilla of the Kriegsmarine. You have to deal 75,000 damage to naval targets while playing Germany naval or purchase it for 200 GE. Then you have the IJAAF 101st Sentai 2nd Chutai tail marking of the Kyushu Island 1945. So you have to participate in 5 battles and achieve a score of at least 2,000 while flying Japanese aircraft. Then you have the Angel of Death text, the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment of Phu Loi, Vietnam, 1971, and you have to destroy 100 or 50 for RB and SB enemy vehicles while playing American aircraft or ground vehicles, or purchase for 200 GE. So those are all of the requirements and the decals on offer. Personally, my favorite out of all of these is this one here, the Italian one. I generally just like the basic colors that it has and the lovely little insignia that it has in the middle. The German naval ones are, well, normally, like you can see it being sat on this S100. They're generally quite simple, but they also look very nice. And as a person who is generally a minimalist when it comes to these type of things, it's very nice to see a lot of them come to the game. The Israeli Defense Force one is just all over the place, in my opinion, but I'm sure it means something. You know, you've got the flag, you've got a lightning bolt, you've got what seems to be a gun, and then what seems to be an arrow. So there's a lot of stuff happening there. The Japanese one as well is beautiful. So let's talk about in-game, how to get these decals and where to find them. If you want an easy way to see them in-game, you basically hit your profile at the top, you go to decals, and then you go to week's latest. Now, just also, before we move on, we have the Tech WS squadron, but we're also making the Tech ES squadron, or have already made it and are recruiting to it now. So if you want to find the Tech WS squadron, which I believe is locked right now because of the amount of players in it, if you want to join a European Canadian squadron, the ES squadron is available. So all you have to do is go to the squadrons tab, type in here TECES, and you'll find it. So if we just do it right now, there you go. So this is the elite squadron that you can find. And also the WS squadron is, I believe, in the top 10 when it comes to activity right now, which is lovely to see. Yeah, it's number 9. And it has less players than the majority of stuff around them. So let's move on to the decals. The first one is, of course, the Ariete emblem. So we have to kill 60 players. Now remember, my generic my generic fields of battle are air realistic, ground realistic, and naval arcade. So that's where I'll be looking at these ideas from. So the first one being, rank 2 to 7 and getting 30 kills in realistic, I've decided to go for the 8-0 lineup. The Centauro, I've had a hell of a lot of fun playing. I do have a slight positive KD in it. It hasn't been as crazy for me as a lot of other people because it generally doesn't fit my playstyle, but as a vehicle that you can rush to a very, very quick area incredibly quickly, and then also be able just to sit there and pick off targets, and then once the enemy realizes where you are, you move on. It works incredibly well. It's also great to have a good support vehicle in the OF40. I personally haven't got too many modifications on it, but I've got parts and FPE now, and to be honest, the Sabo has been doing me pretty well. I can't wait to get that Heat FS though, and also the laser rangefinder. So the 8-0 lineup is what I'm going to go for. Unfortunately, with the 8-0 lineup, one of the problems that it has, I'll just turn off my phone, there we go. One of the problems that it has is the fact that it gets into 8-7 a lot. So if you're not happy with that, especially with the Macavers running around right now, but this should be actually a really good counter to the Macaver. It basically does all the stuff that the Macaver doesn't do really well, so you can pretty much batter it to death. But you will get up-tiered a lot, so if you're not okay with that, the other BR I would say is pretty fun, is the 401. So you take the 9053, you take the Breda 501, and you take the R3T20, you run around, you use the Breda to attack people, same with the 9053. Both of these vehicles are great in the first 5 minutes of the game. Yes, they will get torn apart by other planes when the planes come around, but for those first 5 minutes you're going to have a wonderful time. If you want to not be oppressed by all the planes coming around, your only other option is really the P40, right? So taking the P40, the 7534, and also maybe the M42 Contrario. So I would say, if you want to do this challenge, either go at 8-0, and go a little bit ballistic with the M47 OF40. You could always replace one of these with the Saddam if you wanted for that extra aircraft support, which I think would be needed right now since we are having a definite CAS comeback as the event's going on. But if you just want to go, tank on tank annihilate, OF40 M47 Centauro is a wonderful thing. So that should get you done pretty quickly for that decal. The next one is come first on the Israeli Defense Forces thing. So one of the key things that once again the website misses out when it comes to this is it just says play 7 battles and be the first on the team while playing ground vehicles. Well, this isn't actually the case. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So if you actually have a look at the decal, what it says is you have to win the missions, and first of all it's 8 missions, whereas on the website it says 7, so already there's a bit of an issue here, and you have to come first. So you don't just have to missions played 8 missions, what you have to do is you have to win 8 missions and get number 1 in the team. The easiest way to do this from a objective point of view, and I did a video about this about a week ago called Easy Way to Get 2K, is to get into a vehicle first spawn, so something like an M18 Hellcat here, gain a cap, gain a kill, get yourself into an airplane like the P-47N, use the bombs to kill 2 ground targets, and then use it as a fighter, and use it to annihilate anything that is around it. That is the easiest way to get a lot of score. And since to get top of the team, you need a lot of score, that is the way to do it. You can also establish air dominance, which in this time of CAS dominance, while the event is going on, it is very important to do that. Now, because of this, I think there's definitely an argument to change the second P-47. I would actually probably change it to a P-51. So the where is it? Here we go. So probably the D30 I would chuck in instead of the P-47, and the reason for this is just because I'll just stick it in. The reason for this is just for that air superiority idea once again, just to try and kill as many aircraft as possible. So the general formula for getting a lot of score is take a light or tank destroyer or something like that, even a medium tank, cap a zone, get a kill. That'll give you enough for an aircraft. Get in the aircraft after you die on your first spawn. Terrorize the ground forces, but mainly focus on air forces and establish air dominance. That will give you a ton of score. Once you are close to the end of the battle, either J out or die and get back into a tank. Otherwise, it will not count as a ground forces thing. And as you can see, it's rank 2 to 7 ground vehicles. So what you have to do is gain all the score in the aircraft and then get back into the ground vehicle at the end of the game. You could probably choose this a lot easier at low tiers. Like, since it's a rank 2, you know, you could take like a 2.3 lineup. The Steward is very powerful, so is the M16 MGMC at killing aircraft, and then the M8 HMC is a lot of fun. You've also got a ton of different weird premiums to play with if you already haven't, but for me, I would like to get some Silver Lions and grinding done, which is why I'm running the 5-3 lineup of America. You know, the M18 is a great fun vehicle. Yes, it does get hull broken, but it's got a great gun on it, great speed, really good high skill you know, machine. The Jumbo is old faithful. Even at 5.0 and 5.3, you know, you'll go up against a lot of Tigers and Panthers. You can still deal with them with the APCR, and if you full bushwookie, you know, they can struggle against you. The 76 HUSS, which is what we see here, is good enough to deal with any threat that it faces. The only thing that it has a bit of an issue with, in my opinion, is the speed and the armor not being great, but it's still a good backup vehicle if you run out of these two. Your main thing should be get into this, use it to get into that, and then once you've done all the score with that, get into this and finish the battle. Right? That's the general formula. It won't always work because your team will lose, but at least if you become number 1 and you lose, you still get one of those special crates at the moment. The Dragon Emblem you can't grind, so that's just 200G that you're going to have to spend if you like it. Personally, yeah, I mean, it's okay. The problem I have with like these darker decals, kind of like these ones, is on a lot of vehicles they don't show up. So for me, it's not really worth it. The next one is the Angel of Death. So what we have to do here is just defeat 100 players defeated. Multiplier RB is ×2 and SB is ×2. So you can do this in ground vehicles and air vehicles of the US. Now, while you're trying to get this one, right, you're gonna obviously just do this one. So both of these intertwine quite well. You don't have to worry too much about this, because while you're getting your 8 missions won and becoming first place, you'll also be doing this. It's as simple as that. So don't worry too much about this one. If you focus on this, you'll get this one as well, whatever lineup you're running, whether it be the 2-3 Stuart one or whether it be the 5-3 American one. The next one is the Japanese one. So this is missions played 0 out of 5, rank 2 to 7, air vehicles Japan. So there are 2 ways of doing this. If you want, you can get yourself into ground vehicles and do what I talked about before. Basically, you can run something like a Chaffee alongside the Chi-Nu and also the Soki or the Nato. Run those 3 together, use the Chaffee to get into a plane. Basically, you know, cap a zone with a Chaffee, do some scouting, maybe get a kill, and then when you die, you'll have enough points for something like an A6M2 or something such as the D4Y3 if you have a Death Wish. So what I would do is, if you want to do it in ground realistic, that's how you do it, right? So use the Chaffee, get into a plane, get the 2000, but just remember to stay in the plane at the end of the battle, so it counts, because obviously this is for air vehicles. Now the other way to do it is air realistic, right? And you have pretty much 2 methods. So the B7A2, and other vehicles like it, but I think the B7A2 is the best for this, is a wonderful machine. It's got 2 20mm that do a lot of damage. It has access to one of the best torpedoes in the game. It also has access to different bomb loads and is pretty maneuverable for what is known as a naval bomber torpedo bomber. It can definitely hold itself against other fighters in 2-on-1 situations and be able to come out on top. The only issue with it is sometimes your teams fall apart and you can't force those 2-on-1 situations against enemies. So one very easy way of getting a lot of score is killing a ship. And what you'll find in Aerialistic is the majority of the time that you get on in Japanese maps, there'll be ships to kill. So use the torpedo to kill a ship, and then all you have to do is kill a few ground targets, and the B7A2 will already have hit 2,000. So for me, if you want to do it, let's say brain dead, so you don't have to think about what you're doing, that's the way to do it, right? It will be fun to do if you have the B7 or anything else that has this type of torpedo, but I would say, you know, it's not going to be too tasking on the soul. The other methods, such as the A6M2 one with the 3.3 lineup, or what I'm going to suggest here, are a little bit harder. So the one thing that we're seeing from Japan over the last year or so that people seem to keep forgetting is they have crazy win rates, right? So my J2M2, crazy high, so is the Key 43, all of these are crazy high. Anything, all of these in the 60s, like the A7M2 is at 62%, which is just insane. But at the end of the day, with these vehicles, the way to get 2,000 score if you want to do it air-to-air is around about 3 kills. Maybe 2 kills and a few ground targets, but if you are confident enough to be able to use one of these vehicles and get 3 kills, which in a machine like the A7M2, I definitely am, or a machine such as the J3M2, I'm also incredibly confident in doing it in any of these vehicles that you see here, right? It's just, they're just insane. This line of vehicles, there's a reason why this is 27,000 stock, I'll just put it that way. Like, the win rates are crazy, it's very easy to get a lot of kills, and a lot of people go, well, why do the Japanese have such high SL costs? It's because they dominate, if you know how to use them. So, I don't know how else to say it. But yeah, you can do it that method, you know, be able to get the 3 kills in the air, and that will give you the 2,000 score if you've got enough hits. This is the hardest method, but it's definitely the most rewarding, and it will get you the most RP. So since you have you have 2 weeks to be able to do this, I would say start off with this method. If it isn't working well for you over the next few days, switch to the B7A2 method, and if this doesn't work, use the Chaffee A6M2 method to be able to finish off those 2,000 scores. Also, if we have a look at it, you don't have to win, so you only have to get 2,000 score, so don't worry too much about winning. But if you're going for the kill ones, you're generally going to win anyway. The last one, the Flying Fish, all you have to do is get 75,000 damage in German ships, or boats, or naval, whatever you want to call it. And this is just a time sink, so this will just get done over time. Whether you do it in arcade or realistic, it doesn't really matter. You can take whatever you want, so use this as an opportunity to grind out ships. As long as it's rank 2 and above, so basically S100 and above, you can take anything you want. You know, if you want to be the most efficient about it, obviously you take the best machines, such as the Type 140, 141, or you can go for the destroyers, since the destroyers can generally take or tank a little bit more damage. But for me, I'm just going to use it to grind out these battle barges and also grind out the destroyers. Also, something I do want to mention, which I don't think I mentioned, is the fact that there are new profile pictures, and a lot of them are based around damage. So you can see here, damage to naval targets 100,000, you get yourself a Soviet one if you use Soviet ships. And it's the same for a bunch of the other nations as well. So you have a bunch of new US profiles and German profiles and British and Soviet. So I think the majority of them are, well, all of them are either linked to missions played and damage done, right? So all you have to do is just play the game and shoot things, and you're able to get all of these for yourself. So while you are doing, you know, the decal for the Germans, you can also get some cool profile pictures, and I need to also finish these two off as well. But yeah, I think that's really cool that they've added in a bunch of profile pictures. It's another thing to also work towards, and since, you know, you don't have to think too much about this grind when it comes to just getting damage, it's nice. So yeah, just take what you want for the Germans. I'm going to be rocking this lineup right now until it's fully spaded, and then I'll move on to the FD1, then maybe the VS10, or maybe the Type 1939. I haven't really decided yet what I want to take. But all you got to do is just play matches and shoot things. You know, you don't really need any extreme tactics. Just have fun in naval is all you can do. So yeah, that is the easiest way of getting all of these decals. And as I said, it's a great method to cut down the idea of the grind, and you get some cool decals out of it, right? And that, at the end of the day, is pretty awesome. It means that there are a lot of people ask me how I do these on the barrel, right? You know, the gun marks in a way, or like on the OF40. Well, back in the day, you know, maybe a year ago, Japanese tanks got this reward as a weekly thing. The tactical sign of the 11th Censure, and that's all I use. So hopefully we'll get more decals like that so people can enjoy them and use them for gun marks and all of that stuff. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Dyslexic Child, Martinez, Matati, Moxie, Nito, Nick Graham, Alobralo, and Super Cacti for supporting me on Patreon.